I mean, you have this specific mentality, it seems, but you're also, I believe, doing some pundit work in America with NBC. I was wondering how different that culture is over there.
Yeah, I've been working for NBC for 10 years now. So they bought the rights to show the Premier League in the US 10 years ago. We're coming into our 11th year. Fantastic relationship with the Premier League. You know, that's a big part of the Premier League success story is the selling of international broadcast rights all over the world. So, you know, we at NBC spent $2.6 billion for a 6-year deal with the NBC, of which we're in our second year of a 6-year cycle. So that's just show the game. You do get some other bits and pieces with that, but effectively, you know, that's to show to be the broadcast partner for the Premier League in the US. And so I work as a co-commentator, or as they say in the US, colour analyst. So I'm meant to bring colour to the broadcast, but I don't know. I think it's more black and white than colour.
Very interesting. I mean, it's there's a lot going around about, you know, these kind of anecdotes about American football. It's all a little bit in jest as well sometimes. So I saw a funny anecdote lately about how they called Messi the captain of the MLS. I was wondering how much you had to dumb down your commentary for an American audience.
Well, thankfully, NBC and the US audience is far more sophisticated than maybe the odd example that you see, you know, on social media. That there's the two big things that I've found is the professionalism of NBC and the way they respect the game and value the game. And the second thing is the knowledge of the audience. Of course, the way Americans take their sport and the way they enjoy their sport, the way they support it, the way they engage with it is different to how our fans engage with football to some extent. And we're sort of going through this sort of crossover now of sort of, there's a lot more US fans at every single game we commentate at. So I go to the matches. So I'm at Burnley, Man City on Friday. I'm at Newcastle Saturday, Chelsea Sunday, and then Manchester Monday. We've got this crazy weekend. We don't normally do that many games in that many days, but the studio are coming over from the US. So it's going to be, a really fascinating opening weekend. But every single game you go to, you'll have people that have flown over with their families generally to a Premier League game and are taking it in. They might take in 2 or 3 matches, and because it's a long way and it's an expensive trip. But there's a committed core of fans now in the US, and there's a really interesting demographic around families because time difference. Quite often, you know, they're waking up to our game, and so we have this sort of program called Premier League Mornings, and it's just generated this whole culture around the Premier League. So of course it's different, but it's the right different, if that makes sense. It's again, I'm a great believer in authenticity. So, you know, I wouldn't feel as comfortable if every US fan was trying to be like every Premier League fan that goes to his home or her home team every weekend. There's a different take on it. So for us, it's all about doing the best job we can. And you know, people always say, do you call it soccer? Do you call it football? We call it football because that's what we call it. We speak in English terms, of course, and occasionally there's moments where there's a lost in translation with certain things that we say and how they're interpreted, but you know that's all part of the cultural divide. Might have the same language, but we use it differently. So it's interesting, yeah. So I don't think I could commentate for anyone if I was being asked to sort of call it the upper left 90, as they call the top left, or EK. So that's, you know, Americans want to do that in the MLS. Good luck, but I certainly wouldn't be doing that either here or there.
It's nice to see the development also in the US, especially with the national team. I'm a supporter of Dortmund, so with Giovanni Reina there, Christian Pulisic used to play for Dortmund. It's nice to see the homegrown talent as well.
Yeah, and again, you know, we were speaking about the women's game earlier. The success of football in the US, the professional development of young players, and developing a successful league, it has to be done in a sort of a multi-directional way, in the sense that you've got to start, have the grassroots and the coaching and the pathways for players. You've also got to have the opportunity for players to leave, to develop, to then come back, maybe. Same with coaches. And I think the Premier League was seen potentially by some as a sort of a distraction or an alternative to US football, MLS. But actually, it works really well together. There's great synergy there, and if we say, if we accept that the Premier League is the best, most entertaining football at club level in the world, then why not use that as your benchmark for your own development? And the great thing about the US and their commitment to anything is that once they decide they're going to do something, they do it really well. They support it, they get behind it, they invest in it, and they do it very, very thoroughly. And so, you look across all the Olympic sports, you look across, the development of the women's game in the US over a 30-year period, how successful that has been on the global stage. And I think that's what we're starting to see with the men's game as well, is these younger players being the sort of the standard bearers for the US sort of homegrown program, and it gives players something to believe in and something to follow. And I think that, again, that's really important for a lot of sports people. It helps them when they've got someone that's already done it that they can look at and use as an example, and then that completes that circle of support back into young talent.